It is pretty funny that we are so far removed from the government actually taking action that is beneficial to consumers that when they do actually do that, we're like, what the f? This seems indecent. No, man, it's not. It is decent. It is expected. It is what should happen. Anyway, let's get back to the Brandon regime instituting, utilizing the Department of Justice to go after antitrust trust busters like Apple.
Garland, he's going to be laying out this case against Apple. Let's go to that live.
Good morning. Earlier today, the Department of Justice, joined by 15 states and the District of Columbia, sued Apple in the U.S. District Court for the District of New Jersey for violating Section 2 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Over the last 2 decades, Apple has become one of the most valuable public companies in the world. Today, its net income exceeds the individual gross domestic product of more than 100 countries. That is in large part due to the success of the iPhone, Apple's signature smartphone product. For over a decade, iPhone sales have made up a majority of Apple's annual revenue. Today, Apple's share of the U.S. performance smartphone market exceeds 70%, and its share of the entire U.S. smartphone market exceeds 65%. Apple charges as much as nearly $1,600 for an iPhone. But as our complaint alleges, Apple has maintained monopoly power in the smartphone market not simply by staying ahead of the competition on the merits, but by violating federal antitrust law. Consumers should not have to pay higher prices because companies break the law. We allege that Apple has employed a strategy that relies on exclusionary, anti-competitive conduct that hurts both consumers and developers. For consumers, that has meant fewer choices, higher prices and fees, lower quality smartphones, apps, and accessories, and less innovation from Apple and its competitors. For developers, that has meant being forced to play by rules that insulate Apple from competition. And as outlined in our complaint, we allege that Apple has consolidated its monopoly power, not by making its own products better, but by making other products worse. Apple carries out its exclusionary anti-competitive conduct in 2 principal ways. First, Apple...
You just want to be EU Parliament so bad. Objectively, American existence would be like noticeably better, 10% better, almost immediately if we started implementing some quality of life adjustments that like European Union regulators do on a regular basis. Like universalizing the power cords, you know what I mean? Like half the time when we inevitably get stuff here that are good quality of life adjustments, it is a consequence of EU regulation making its way here as well because it inevitably is cheaper to just mass produce the same product. So yeah, this is like the nerdy shit that happens in the background, right? This is the nerdy shit that happens in the background where the government is actually working. Unfortunately, the government rarely works in this direction in the United States of America, but I do think that it is a good thing. Like here's another Brandon example I will use, right? What did he do recently with the credit cards? Like hidden fees. Yeah, here's another thing. Credit card late fees are going to be capped at $8. Junk fees. Going after junk fees. Like these are small things that the government should absolutely do that will yield a tremendous amount of popular support. Okay, especially if they do a good enough job of promoting what they're doing. Okay, get rid of those fees on concert tickets, in my honest opinion. Yes, going after price gougers. A lot of this stuff is good. I think Adam Conover, friend of the show, Adam Conover's The G Word Netflix series, which was co-produced by Obama, sorry to tell you, or I think Obama was featured in it, but regardless, is pretty good at showcasing all the stuff that happens in the background that you basically take for granted that keeps society together and stop it from collapsing completely, that are very necessary, that we just kind of take for granted. It is the other side of government that rarely gets coverage, but is important, okay? I love this and agree with you 100%, but it's also just one thing that Brandon wants to use to distract us from a shitty foreign policy in Israel-Palestine. This isn't a good thing. You can't be a monopoly of your own universe. Apple owned and, more importantly, created the stack top to bottom. Apple have no more a monopoly on iPhones than Sony has a monopoly on PlayStations, or you have a monopoly of being Hasanabi. Wait, what? Sorry, we made it, so it doesn't matter is an insane way to argue on this issue. Especially because it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. Monopoly on the smartphone market is more than the phone market itself, chatter. No, it straight up does not matter. Just because a company got like really successful on its own doesn't mean that they can't be violating antitrust rules. They absolutely can, and Apple absolutely is. Okay? And breaking some of these some of the monopoly power that these massive corporations have will literally yield consumer benefits. Okay? Yeah. It's about the software. It's like Microsoft lawsuit over Internet Explorer. Remember that? Remember how good that was? I mean, Microsoft still does its very best to try and shove Internet Explorer down your goddamn throat, but think about that. In a total vacuum, sure, a company can develop and sell whatever they want within the framework of the law, but what's being litigated here is the nature of Apple as one of the only two major industry players in the mobile space. That necessarily restricts what they're allowed to do. Plus, we don't even have Huawei. You know what I mean? Okay, you can go and drink water. Go drink your water, baby. When will you wear wigs? Why? Yeah, now they're trying to make us edge. I know. So having a successful company and having a lot of people use your product equals bad? Wait, you don't have to ban that guy. Come on, mods. That's crazy. Like, yeah, he's being contentious and he's a debate derailer, oh, never mind. He got Fossabot timed out because he was spamming. Mods didn't do that. Fossabot did it because my man was going crazy with it. Man, I wonder how many people just get straight clapped by Fossabot because they're just spamming like crazy, and then they think the moderators are the ones who ban them, and then just develop like a permanent hate boner for me and this community in general.
Imposes contractual restrictions and fees that limit the features and functionality that developers can offer iPhone users. Second, Apple selectively restricts access to the points of connection between third-party apps and the iPhone's operating system, degrading the functionality of non-Apple apps and accessories. As a result, for most of the past 15 years, Apple has collected a tax in the form of a 30% commission on the price of any app downloaded from the App Store, as well as on in-app purchases. Apple is able to command these fees from companies of all sizes. Apple has also suppressed the emergence of programs like...
By the way, officially, the corrupt tee, capitalism and decay tee, and the lib tour hoodie and the skull tee have been sold out, so now they are on back order. So it'll take a longer time. I wanted it to not run out like it always does. It already ran out. It already sold out, but it's on back order, so it'll take a little bit longer for you to receive it if you buy it from this point on, but at least you'll be able to get it, okay? And not have to wait for another 6 months until you can maybe get it on. Maybe get it if we decide to drop it again. Is that why a sub on mobile costs more than a desktop on Twitch? Yup. Tim would have got it to me faster. I'm literally trying to AirPlay you to a Fire TV right now, and it's twice as many steps as last time I did this. Apple. Anyway. Why can't you just make infinite merch, you burly buffoon? I mean, I am literally making infinite merch. I'm explaining to you why it's infinite merch. We run into this issue every single time. I don't think you guys understand. We purchase pretty much the entirety of Bayside's available stock. Okay? Every single time we do one of these drops, we pretty much buy everything they have ahead of time. Okay? Yes, back order is the same quality. It just takes The only difference between back order is that it'll take a little bit longer for you to receive it. That's it. You've worn a shirt with a burning Confederate flag before, and I thought it was your merch, but it's not. Do you remember where you got that? Yeah, that's a fan who took one of my quotes about how the Confederates are losers and turned it into fan art and then made t-shirts off of it. Yeah, ladders included. Can I get the overcoat and the hoodie pick? If you go to Italy and go to the Vatican and shop where the priests shop at, you will be able to purchase that overcoat. I think it's called Barbicone or something. You look like if Bad Bunny was capitalized and bolded. Thank you. How's the quality of the sweater? Is the print going to get messed up if I wash it? I mean, I'm wearing it, and this has gone through many washes, so no. All right, let's
cloud streaming apps, including gaming apps, as well as super apps that could reduce user dependence on Apple's own operating system and expensive hardware. And as any iPhone user who has ever seen a green text message or received a tiny, grainy video can attest, Apple's anti-competitive conduct also includes making it more difficult for iPhone users to message with users of non-Apple products. It does this by diminishing the functionality of its own messaging app and by diminishing the functionality of third-party messaging apps. By doing so, Apple knowingly and deliberately degrades quality, privacy, and security for its users. For example, if an iPhone user messages a non-iPhone user in Apple Messages, the text appears not only as a green bubble, but incorporates limited functionality. The conversation is not encrypted, videos are pixelated and grainy, and users cannot edit messages or see typing indicators. As a result, iPhone users perceive rival smartphones as being lower quality because the experience of messaging friends and family who do not.
They're so right about this. They're so right about this. Like, this is an immediate improvement for all consumers, by the way. And the only reason why you would want this to maintain, like the only reason why you would want this still is so that you can call Android users like broke boys and feel special. And I say this as someone who's never had an Android. I say this as someone who is a firmly committed Apple user. I have an iPhone. I have an Apple MacBook laptop. I have an Apple Watch. I think it's ridiculous that there is no cross-pollination and you can't use other products and you're like trapped in the Apple family. I find it very silly. I think that this is a pro-consumer move, and the only reason why you would want this, you're just a cuck. What? No, the only reason why you would want to maintain this is because you perceive it as like a status symbol. Well, you choose to be Apple as an odd statement. I don't have an issue using Apple products, okay? But I do think that it would be better overall for every single consumer if there was more cross-pollination, if like all of the apps could be utilized across the board and had all of the same options.
Not own iPhones is worse, even though Apple is the one responsible for breaking cross-platform messaging. And it does so intentionally. For example, in 2013, a senior executive at Apple explained that supporting cross-platform messaging in Apple Messages, quote, would simply serve to remove an obstacle to iPhone families giving their kids Android phones, close quote. In 2022, Apple's CEO was asked whether Apple would fix iPhone to Android messaging. The questioner added, quote, not to make it personal, but I can't send my mom certain videos, close quote. Apple's CEO.
It does seem kind of stupid when you talk about this, like, because you got like Merrick Garland talking about something so silly that people have made memes about, but it's like this kind of little, it's exactly this like little shit that impacts daily user experience, daily consumer experience, that will yield tremendous benefit for all consumers across the board. This is millions tens of millions of people, if not hundreds of millions of people, that will have a better consumer experience overall.
CEO responded, "Buy your mom an iPhone." In addition to selectively controlling app distribution and creation, we allege that Apple is violating the law by conditionally restricting developers' access to.
I think you don't know anything about the tech behind messaging, so you should probably learn about it before talking on it with such certainty. I don't think I need to understand the tech behind messaging to say that like this should be like the amenities that Apple offers should also go across all of the platforms. Like I that's all I'm simply stating. You need to know about encryption and standards. Okay, well, while I don't understand about encryption and standards, I still think that it should still be allowed by everyone. You are doing the Apple line here, which is this making it readily available for every other product is going to like limit Apple's security or whatever, which I do agree. I think Apple does care about security for sure and privacy, even though they do also obviously, internally allow other apps to steal and suck all of your data. Having said that, they just need to add RCS to iPhone, then it'll all be good. Yeah, like unless you personally believe that Google does not have encryption standards, which is a silly thing to argue for, I don't know what to tell you. Like, Apple announced that RCS support is coming to iPhone next year. Apple has announced today that it will adopt the RCS, Rich Communication Services Messaging Standard. The feature will launch via a software update later next year and bring a wide range of iMessage style features to messaging between iPhone and Android users. So I guess that you're advocating for something that Apple has already seen, partially because they knew this was coming and has already decided to move in the direction of. And this is from 2023, November 16, 2023. I assume that this is, you're a moron. I, for one, like my battery drains quicker when I do not upgrade. The move for RCS is due to China. I don't know if it's for China. It's probably EU, right? EU forced Apple to use RCS. Google tries publicly shaming Apple into adopting RCS. Here's a video of Marquez explaining how Apple gatekeeps his messaging app. That's 20 minutes. I don't want to watch a 20-minute video. Apple folds for a third time to the EU, and it means iPhone users can now get red receipts when texting their Android friends. Does it sound not like Marcus Brownlee? No, I love his videos. It's just 20 minutes.
To the interface, which is needed to make an app functional on the Apple operating system. For a product like a smartwatch or a digital wallet to be useful to an iPhone user, it must be able to communicate with the iPhone's operating system. But Apple creates barriers that make it extremely difficult and expensive for both users and developers to venture outside the Apple ecosystem. When it comes to smartwatches, Apple not only drives users to purchase an Apple Watch, which is only compatible with an iPhone, it also uses its technical and contractual controls to make it harder for someone with an iPhone to use a non-Apple smartwatch. And when it comes to digital wallets, Apple's exclusionary conduct goes a step further. Digital wallets allow users to store and use passes and credentials in a single app, including credit cards, personal identification, movie tickets, and car keys. Apple Wallet is Apple's proprietary digital wallet on the iPhone. Apple actively encourages banks, merchants, and other parties to participate in Apple Wallet, but it simultaneously exerts its monopoly power to block these same partners from developing alternative payment products and services for iPhone users. For example, Apple has blocked third-party developers from...
Here's the thing, okay? I will explain why this is good for Apple consumers, as an Apple consumer myself, and I hope that you will understand. Okay? In an environment where Apple doesn't try to create a walled garden of like only Apple family products, and this, it seems like if this goes through, Apple will be forced to make changes. Apple will have to compete with everyone else, both on the hardware and software side, by simply making better hardware and better software. Okay? If Apple's overarching popularity relies on its inability or relies on its restrictions as it pertains to applications or as it pertains to hardware that is not in the Apple family, that actually stifles innovation. Okay? This is why I'm saying more competition is actually beneficial for the consumer themselves. This will directly lead to better consumer experiences for those who have Apple products. The other side of this is that Apple engages in price leadership, or at least like restriction leadership in this regard, which will get other companies, Google, I guess, is the only other major player in this space, to also try to create a restrictive ecosystem. Okay? Whereas being able to purchase a Samsung or Google hardware and use it with ease with Apple hardware and software is beneficial for you. It's actually a good thing. You just cannot imagine the seamless communication that your Apple products have with your Apple iPhone being the same for non-Apple products as well. Okay? That's part of the reason why you are claiming that this will be a bad thing. Why have any proprietary hardware or software at that point? Then it's a dumb argument. I mean, don't get me started on this. It's not, though. It's on. Apple's protecting its user experience. They already compete on hardware and software. Bad take, to be honest. Apple has been innovating a lot lately with their hardware and software. This is just forcing them to use other stuff. I think they should be forced to use other people's stuff. Because if they are forced to have universal standards for non-Apple products, they will then be forced to make that experience as seamless for other hardware and software that's non-Apple. Then don't buy Apple products. No, because when you buy a non-Apple product, it doesn't connect to your iPhone as easily as an Apple product. The other side of this is also that if you have only Apple products and you want to use it on a Steam Deck, the connectivity is much harder. Apple should be making products that are easy to integrate into other. That's why I don't buy other stuff. Yeah, that's the whole point, dumbass. That's why you don't buy other stuff. You're literally talking about this restriction that Apple has imposed upon you. You are advocating for being cucked further as the government is doing something, finally, for once, that takes steps against that. This is just cultish thinking, I think. It doesn't make any sense. It genuinely does not make any sense. You have been conditioned into hating Google and Windows, which aren't great companies either, for the record. They have their own issues, but you've been conditioned into hating these other ecosystems because because Apple is incredibly restrictive, and so are these guys as well in some respects, into using competitors' hardware and software. That's the problem. This makes it so that you have choice. You can have an Apple iPhone if you think that the Apple iPhone is better, okay, on specs and on pricing, and then turn around and use your Apple iPhone with a product that Google made, like Google headphones or something, or a non-Apple headphone that you can easily incorporate, and it's as seamless as like basically connecting to your own Apple, your own Apple headphones. But why stick with Apple until now if you didn't like it for that reason? Wait, what do you mean? Why don't we apply the standard to automakers too? Their parts don't work together. I mean, if you're comparing how restrictive Apple is when it comes to repair in comparison to like auto manufacturers, I don't know what to tell you. But we already do have standardized stuff in auto manufacturing, like auto repair. And even then, there's no auto manufacturer that has, what is this? New York Times diagram explains the Apple monopoly pretty well. Top of the, God damn it, dude. Take USB-C as an example. They probably would have started adoption earlier if it wasn't for their overall proprietary advantage. Exactly. USB-C being universalized is good, is beneficial for everyone. You don't need to get like dumbass Apple lightning rods or whatever the it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Now you can share a singular charger. It makes no sense. I genuinely cannot comprehend. That's why Tesla isn't great, because we can only use Tesla auto repair shops instead of any auto repair shop. Exactly. Tesla is good for its war against car dealerships, but it's bad when it comes to repair for this exact same reason. Well, this and many other reasons actually, because like when your car has like a crumple, it basically, that's not really true. It's like half true. I genuinely feel like, no, Hassan, people buy Apple products because people like having many different charger standards. You just don't understand technology. Yeah, I legitimately don't understand it. It's like advocating against universal chargers for electric vehicles. You know what I mean? Like being a Tesla fanboy and being like, well, Elon invented the supercharger that's like much better than all of the other EV chargers. So he should be able to maintain his supercharger supremacy, which is ridiculous. The fuck are you talking about? Every single argument that you've made so far basically just says, I like being in the in club, in the Apple club. How will I feel superior to other consumers with my expensive ass gear? Like, let's apply the standard to gaming consoles. I want my Xbox controller to work with my PS5. Dude, don't even get me started on that. Oh my God. Dude, I've compared universalizing like the console controller buttons to slavery before, okay? I have a very famous rant on this while playing Zelda. Are you kidding me? Yes, we should do that. Controller compatibility and universalizing all the buttons should happen. The problem is everyone in any kind of like legislative body that has regulatory power is 857 years old. So they don't remember. They don't know anything about consoles. So we can't even have this conversation. Did you see where Sony took away movies people bought on the PlayStation Store? I did. It was bullshit. Chatter acting like this is a gotcha, but more open systems would be good for consumers. Only just now we've gotten some cross-play. I know, cross-platform play. Exactly. I think it's so stupid. Yeah, you're literally pointing to like other things that I agree with and that should happen while trying to defend one thing that I disagree with. Are Steam Decks worth it? Yes. I love my Steam Deck. Guys, I'm a ride or die Steam Decker, okay? Straight up. It's so good. It's the best piece of tech that I have purchased in the last decade. Think about it this way. My Steam Deck is my daily driver for gaming. I literally use it more for gaming than I do my PC. I have a supercomputer and I have a supercomputer. I have a PlayStation 5. The Steam Deck is so goated. Anyway, but yeah, I got owned again. Make no mistake. Top of the hour ad break is here. And I am going to run the top of the hour ad break now. Universalize the top of the hour ad breaks. And if you no longer want to see those ads, well, there's one way. There's a couple different methods that you can use to avoid seeing those ads. Okay? Oh, is this an ad for Steam? No. You honestly think this is about us? You don't think this is about the government wanting a backdoor and weaken iOS security? Android has backdoors. Would love for you to comment on this. That's the only part of this that I think is like probably valid, but I do think that there's already ways into Apple as well. I don't disagree that Apple has a monopoly and is acting monopolistic in certain things. However, your tech takes are right on par with the 80-plus-year-olds that are making tech legislation. Really? iOS also has backdoors. I'm certain. You can't claim Ferrari would be a better car if they had to support Honda engines. What? Dude, the government is not forcing Apple to use Android hardware. Okay, like to strip Apple hardware and put Android components into it. What kind of comparison is this? I don't understand. That's why the actual analog here is Tesla superchargers. Okay, Tesla superchargers is a better example. There are competitors in the marketplace for EVs. The problem is they can't utilize Tesla superchargers. And universalizing Tesla superchargers and ensuring that there's one standard for all electric vehicles is a good thing that will open up the space. That way, people can focus on making better products, better EVs overall, and not simply use that as a competitive advantage. The reason why you guys don't want to use the USB-C comparison or the supercharger comparison is because you understand that kind of destroys the argument that you have, because I don't think your argument is a valid one. I think your argument stems from, I want to maintain Apple supremacy. Because let's be real, as an Apple user, as a lifelong Apple product user myself, there is definitely that element of like having Apple products, and therefore it's just better. It's just more specs. Like you're so tapped in to the cult of Apple that you feel like one aspect that Apple brings to the table, your take on this is just not good. You will never be able to convince me personally, with the exception of the backdoor shit, that forcing Apple to utilize industry standards, like creating universal industry standards, is a bad thing. Okay? Imagine if everyone was forced to use Safari, is exactly the point. Exactly. Thank God that that doesn't happen. Both sides are dorks. Apple users think they're cool and rich for having it like it's 2007, and Android users think anyone gives a fuck about what their stupid device can do. I agree. Lots of people on the Apple subreddit complaining about this. Yes, because one part of owning Apple products is that instills brand loyalty, is the fact that you have an Apple product and you have a lot of like cool stuff that you don't want others to have. So it's a part of the marketing. It's a part of the brand. It's a part of how you develop brand loyalty to it. Everyone isn't forced to use Safari. You can buy other products for sake. No, but this is akin to everyone using Safari. But because Safari is not a better product than all of the other competitors in the market, you don't see it as such. If Safari was it's ironic because like Microsoft already tried this with the Internet Explorer anyway. Open source brands never work well with each other anyways. That's what Apple does well. No, that's also not true. A big part of the reason why the open source brands never work well with each other is because Apple doesn't work well with open source brands. That's the whole point. I am a tech boomer, and I still recognize that this is literally the problem that they're trying to eliminate.
Creating competing digital wallets on the iPhone that use what is known as tap to pay functionality. That is the function that makes a digital wallet, well, a wallet. Instead, Apple forces those who want to use the wallet function to share personal information with Apple, even if they would prefer to share that information solely with their bank, medical provider, or other trusted third party. When an iPhone user puts a credit or debit card in Apple Wallet, Apple inserts itself into the process that would otherwise occur directly between the user.
There's something you need to understand here. Hardware and software relationships will always weaponize compatibility for anti-competitive purposes. Wait, what? I do understand that. And I don't think that should exist. That's the whole point that I'm making. And that's what I'm trying to explain to Apple fanboys as an Apple fanboy myself. I mean, dude, come on. Like, look, dude, what more do I need to show you? You know what I mean? I use I have the Apple, what is it? The Plus, the big bulky headphones. I have the in-ear Apple headphones. I have pretty much every Apple product with the exception of the Vision Pro or whatever. Yeah, I have the AirPod Plus. I have the AirPods. I have everything that's Apple. I use almost completely. I use Apple. I have an Apple TV. Wait, are you an Apple fanboy because you're forced to be? Would you have bought a Samsung watch if you could have? Maybe. If it had the same ease of compatibility, potentially. I probably would have. If there was like a easy app integration and it didn't require so much more, yeah, I probably would have. A big part of why I use Apple products across the board is because it's the easiest. Like it just works so seamlessly, so perfectly. You don't own a Sony TV and saying no, Apple TV is a. But I love Apple products. That is in part because Apple systematically boxes out third parties' products and services from gaming to digital wallets, limiting choice and blocking potentially better products from emerging. Apple even sacrifices short-term gains to maintain this power. Apple's better at privacy. From degrading the security of text messages to selling your data to foreign governments, Apple's cloak of privacy is a mainly self-serving branding strategy. Apple can improve privacy at any time without engaging in anti-competitive product. Yeah, Garmin smartwatches are way better on Android than Apple, but the drawback on Android is that you have to do a little bit of work, in this case, downloading their own apps. You can't even develop stuff for iOS without being forced into buying a Mac. Is very annoying. I think they should make phones with worse cameras. I think everyone looked better when we couldn't see them as good. I agree. People are misunderstanding the lawsuit. Apple is intentionally blocking integration from third parties, which is the issue. Not that first party is better. Not that first party integration is better. Like, this entire lawsuit fixes a lot of the things that you are holding on to as a benefit, thinking that it will be worse overall in the long run for you. When the only thing that this takes away is an air of superiority that you might feel by having an Apple product. That's literally it. That's why I'm saying I don't think you recognize that, like, I don't think you personally recognize that that's kind of what you're advocating for. It doesn't make sense. It's just eliminating the social capital that you have by having an Apple product while also opening up as a consumer for you to utilize so many different products, like a wide range of products that is seamlessly integrated. Because if this is forced, then Apple has to maintain its same seamless transition with third-party developers on the software side, and also products that are not inside of the Apple family. There are currently, obviously, products that they allow that are in the Apple family. You see them when you go to the Apple store. But this would force Apple to basically create that same transition, that same seamless transition with every product, because that's what competition is. Realistically, Apple isn't even competing on hardware and software. They're competing on ecosystem, but ecosystems are inherently anti-competitive. Exactly. They must be forced to compete for each product category separately, and if their products are all the best in class, they can work well together. What Apple has is a walled garden. Precisely the case, yes.
And the card issuer. This introduces an additional potential point of failure for the privacy and security of Apple users. And that is just one way in which Apple is willing to make the iPhone less secure and less private in order to maintain its monopoly power. The Supreme Court defines monopoly power as, quote, the power to control prices or exclude competition. As set out in our complaint, Apple has that power in the smartphone market. Now, having monopoly does not itself violate the antitrust laws, but it does when a firm acquires or maintains monopoly power, not because it has a superior product or superior business acumen, but by engaging in exclusionary conduct. As set out in our...
A lot of what makes them good is software efficiency. It's not entirely a hardware thing. Yes, it does. But that software efficiency would be forced upon Apple for all non-Apple products if they were basically forced to literally utilize all matter of different... Apple is Hasan's one corpo blind spot. Wait, what? No, it's the exact opposite. The corpo lover. Corpo lover? Are you misunderstanding the point I'm making? The fuck's wrong with you? No, I'm anti-corporate here. What the fuck? I'm saying the government literally regulating this so that Apple is forced to create better software and better seamless consumer experiences for those who want to use non-Apple products is quite literally the opposite of what you think I'm saying.
Our complaint, Apple has maintained its power, not because of its superiority, because of its unlawful exclusionary behavior. Monopolies like Apple's threaten the free and fair markets upon which our economy is based. They stifle innovation, they hurt producers and workers, and they increase costs for consumers. If left unchallenged, Apple will only continue to strengthen its smartphone monopoly. But there's a law for that. The Justice Department will vigorously enforce antitrust law. Enforcing the law protects consumers from higher prices and fewer choices. That is the Justice Department's legal obligation. That is what the American people expect. That is what they deserve.
You should use an Android. I mean, maybe in the future. The Biden admin is also coming after food delivery services. Have you ever used a food delivery app to order a meal but noticed a much higher end price? It's called drip pricing and it adds up. My administration is working to end this practice. over junk fees. Yeah, that's great. I think this shit's also lame as hell. Like, I want to give all the money to the driver. I don't want to give money to the delivery app. I already, like, it's crazy. This shit sucks. Hidden fees, junk fees, they're ass cheeks, and they add up over the course of a year. I'm willing to bet that the average consumer over the course of a year is probably, I'm sure there's data for this. I don't know what it is, but I'm willing to bet that like it adds up to thousands of dollars a year. $1 here, $2 there, $4 here. It adds up. This all is to get votes. They wouldn't care if the polls were not in their favor. Wait, what do you mean? That's all politics. I'm not going to literally yell at the Biden administration for not doing things that are good in order to win votes and then yell at them when they are doing things to win votes. That is the entire point of being in office. Yes. What is happening here? Yeah, they should be buying our votes. That is what politics is about. You're now getting mad at them for doing good things that are beneficial to consumers, actually regulating, because you're like, well, they just want to win our votes. It's like, yeah, dude, it's called being a functioning government. What's next, dude? Are you going to be like, wow, dude, the guy working at McDonald's doesn't really have love for making burgers and is simply doing this so he can survive and live and get a paycheck? Yeah, I know. That's kind of the point. I can explain the part of the Apple thing that I think people think you aren't getting. I broadly agree, though. It is pretty funny that we are so far removed from the government actually taking action that is beneficial to consumers that when they do actually do that, we're like, what the fuck? This seems indecent. No, man, it's not. It is decent. It is expected. It is what should happen.